And we finished that conversation. Well, he went into one bedroom and I went into another. And when I was in the other one, I was saying, "Oh, Steve, come in here. You need to look at these built-ins." And then I went, oh my gosh, there was a naked man in the bed. And
This is Spilling the Real Tea, a podcast by Sold in a Snap.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spilling the Real Tea. I am your host, Eric Johnson, and we are super excited today. We have a very special guest, Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realty, the owner, founder, and we are so excited to have you, Camille. Thank you.
I'm excited about being here.
I'm so excited to dive into this, but before we start, I do want to thank today's sponsor, which is Sold in a Snap. Sold in a Snap is Central Texas' premier real estate photography and marketing company, helping agents look incredible, stand out from the competition, and grow their business. They provide photos, tours, videos, and marketing, everything that you need to market yourself and your listings with ease. Want to save time, wow your clients, and dominate the market? Visit soldinasnap.com and see how Sold in a Snap can elevate your business or your listing today. So Camille, you have been in this business for 40 years.
Yes, I can't believe it, but it's almost 40 years exactly.
40 years, which is actually what we're going to be talking about today. Like, I really want to dive in deep to your experiences, the things that you learned. What has changed in those 40 years?
Gosh, it's unbelievable what has changed. Would you like to know what a day was like maybe 40 years ago?
Oh my, yeah. Take us back. So first of all, let's set the stage. What year did you become a realtor?
1986.
1986.
I was a school teacher.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something just a little part-time, just to make a little extra money. Well, with my kind of competitive spirit and love of people, it was a perfect fit for me. And it just kind of it did take over my life.
Yeah.
Which was wonderful. I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah. So 1986, no cell phones. There's some computers, but like no internet.
Not really.
No
computers. We, like a day when we would get to the office, we would have to get a little bulletin that was typewritten from the board office, from our association's office.
Wow.
And that was the day where it was really like a job.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like today, our realtors are in and out. They're on their cell phones. They have computers at home. They can do anything on their laptops and iPads out in the car and in the field.
Sure.
And 40 years ago, of course, there was none of that.
Yeah.
And so we all came to the office, and every day we'd get that little bulletin, and we'd update our books. We had a book of real estate, and we'd have to individually go through and do the increases in prices or decreases in prices and market. And we all did it together.
Sure.
We were sort of like a family doing all of that together.
Would you say, like, back then, mentorship wise, like you couldn't really start unless you had somebody that showed you the ropes and like took you like hand over hand, kind of teaching you?
Oh, I had wonderful ladies. Like I said, we were like a family, and I had some ladies there that took me by the hand.
Yeah.
When I started, they said they took me to the title company and said, "Here's the title company." I'm thinking, well, what's it? Why do I need to know what a title company is for? And but wonderful mentors. But my main mentor was Jim Stewart, who was our broker and owner, and he was very, very well known in town. He was a commercial real estate agent.
Yeah.
And he was the loveliest, kindest, most compassionate man.
Oh, good.
And that's why he told me one time, he said, I didn't want to name my company Jim Stewart Realtors, but I was told I needed to because that was how everybody knew us, and that was the brand.
Yeah.
And so when I started my company, I patterned it after my sweet Jim Stewart and named it. I didn't want to be egotistical, but I knew that people knew my brand and knew me.
And trusted you.
And I was hoping after 40 years or 30 years, I've been in the business 10 years. But that's why I named my company Camille Johnson Realtors, not to be egotistical, but to be a brand where everybody would recognize.
Yeah. So let's go. You mentioned a day in the life in 1986. And I also want to hear what a day in the life for you today is. But we're in 1986. We become a realtor. you wake up, what does your day look like? I mean, and you mentioned some of it, like looking
We
at
do the little
sports and everything.
books, yeah. And then on Wednesdays, oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to laugh.
That's okay.
On Wednesdays, we all took a tour. We had an office meeting, and we all got in this tour bus because, we didn't know what the houses looked like unless we went out to look at them.
Oh, wow.
And there was of course, no computers.
You didn't jump on Zillow or anything?
We didn't jump
like
on
that?
Realtor.com, Zillow, or anything. And
MLS.
so we all had to get on this tour bus. And there's some hilarious stories from that tour. I mean, we would have to call and set up the appointments ahead of time. And this one story I'll have to tell you, it was a very well-known man in town, and I had called him, and I told him we were going to be there about 10 o'clock for us to come on tour. Well, we all round the corner we're in the house, and we all round the corner to the master bedroom. Well, he comes out buck naked, and here we all are. And all he does is put his hands and says, "Poor girls."
Oh my gosh.
And so anyway, but there's so many anyway, we all ran out of the house, and of course that's been a story we've all talked about.
Did you end up getting the property? Were you able to sell the house?
Well, I had it listed and we did sell it, but he didn't come with the property. But
that is amazing.
But anyway, it was hilarious. Yeah. But anyway, it was one of those kind of stories. We had some hilarious trips on our tour buses.
When would you say that? I wish that this would still be. You should do that. You're like, you guys were going on a field trip.
Would come.
Oh man, I would come. You'd be like, Eric, you want to go on a field trip with me? Yes, I do.
Yes,
so
they don't say, we don't need to do that. We can see it online.
Yeah. Well, when did you see things like that stop?
That stopped whenever computers became so important.
Yeah.
And we could sit there at our desk or in our pajamas at home and see all the new listings come up on our computers because of this wonderful photography that our Sold in a Snap and different companies like that take. And so really that stopped because the need of having to go out and view the property was over. We could see all those 40 pictures online.
So
that was probably probably 10 years ago, I would think it stopped.
In a similar fashion, we have evolved into being able to get leads, and a lot of it's online based off of social relationships and things like that. But back in 80s, early 90s, like, how are you getting leads? Is it like from church or from like the school systems? Like, are you cold calling people? Are you putting your cards in like the little jams and doors? Like, how'd you get leads back then?
Well, and what's interesting, it's not much different than it was back then. I think the statistics are about 90% of our business comes from friends, referrals, or past clients, or family, or somebody that you've got a relationship with. And the other is kind of icing on the cake when we do the other. But of course, Zillow and the way you present yourself on social media is a great way that we get clients today. But back then, forget that. We would sit, 40 years ago, you would have phone duty. And you would sit there all day long answering the telephone, hoping that somebody might call the agency and that you could show them. Yeah. And that's another thing, a difference that we were talking about. When we were doing offers 40 years ago, you would have to sit at that desk all day long and waiting for the counter offer. Yeah. And you could be sitting there 6
waiting
hours.
For a phone call.
Waiting for the phone call, 6 to 8 hours to wait. When are they going to call us back for that counter? Now you can pick up your phone and you can go to a ball game, or you can go to Dillard's, or you're free to do whatever you need to do. So there's pros and cons of the way it's made life a lot easier. Yeah. But it's also sometimes it's a little more difficult because you're never off duty.
Yeah. Do you miss that a bit?
I miss being together. We had a family. 40 years ago, and all through those eras in Jim Stewart Realtors, we had such a family, and we were all so close. Sure. And we would see fights in the office, like you hear about cat fights, and we would have just so much camaraderie. Yeah. I had wonderful lessons from some of my realtors. I had sat at that desk for the first 2 years, and I think I made $6,000 my first year, and didn't make much more than that the second year. Yeah. And I was almost about to quit, and this one realtor said, if you'll quit thinking about the money and start thinking about people, it will change your life. Yeah. And that was sort of one of those moments,
Aha
those wake
moments.
up moments, like, I'm in this, I should be in this to help people. It's one of
Yeah.
the biggest purchases of their life
Yeah.
to buy a home, and one of the most important. So that was sort of a life-changing event. And
Yeah.
I had faith. I had a wonderful manager, Woody Rogers, and he said, Camille, I think, because I was about to quit and go back to teaching school.
Yeah.
And he said, Camille, I think if you will just hang on one more year,
Sure.
I think you'll explode.
Yeah.
And that third year, I started making
Really
money
getting some
and
traction.
doing some traction.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson I'd like to teach people too, getting into any career. It takes you a little bit of time to develop a business and for people to trust you. They may be your friend, but they might not trust that you know what you're doing until you've been there a while.
Yeah. Is there a happy medium between fake it till you make it and kind of owning your expertise? Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
and part of that buy-in, part of that trust is I trust that they know the information to be able to be my best advocate here. And then part of it is like, if you're a new realtor, saying, there's so much I don't know and I don't want to mislead somebody. But so would you say there's like a happy medium between, like being confident,
I think the fake it to make it, I like that.
Yeah.
One time, this is another lesson I learned, is I was being totally honest. Oh, I've got such a horrible business and nobody's buying houses from me. The market's terrible. And I had another realtor, another mentor that came to me and said, Camille, nobody wants to work with a loser.
That is such great advice.
Yes. And you need to be positive.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody asks you, even if it's not true, I don't think the Lord cares about us lying about things like that, I hope. But anyway, I started changing it around, saying when they'd ask, how's the market? Oh, the market's great.
Yeah.
I've been selling like crazy.
Yeah.
Even if I hadn't sold something in 6 months.
Yeah.
But I think the fake it till you make it and being positive about everything instead of woe is me, because really nobody really wants to work with somebody that's down and out. I hate to say that.
I think that's really, really great advice. And to your point, if you were to be my realtor, let's say, and you're like, well, I don't know, maybe there's just not a great home for you here in Waco or Central Texas or something, like, I feel like you would have quit on me.
Yes.
And that would be discouraging. But if you're like, you know what, maybe this isn't the one, let's go find something that fits you and your family, or you know what, we're not getting a lot of bites, but we're gonna get that house sold for you. Like, what a difference in approach.
It makes just being positive, I think, helps everybody in trying to act happy and like you want to work with them, even if you don't. No, but you do. I mean, that's the other thing I wanted to say is I really have never worked with people that I didn't love. You really, when you're with people that much, especially 40 years ago, we were in the car together. Whenever they didn't have online, the internet, to look at houses, they depended on us totally.
Sure.
And so when they would say a new doctor, a new engineer, whatever would come to town, we would have a list of homes for them. And we would show them, and they'd be in our car, and we didn't have cell phones to, to keep contact with the officer or anything. But we would be with them all day long, every day. Sometimes we'd show, most of the time, at least 20 homes, but 30 to 40 homes. And you're showing this little mother and daddy with maybe their 2 kids, all piled in the car with no seatbelts.
That's how we did it,
yes, but you really develop an appreciation and a love for these people, and you would do anything to make them happy and find them the home of their dreams. But that was what so much has changed whenever we were providing those lists. Now it's just flipped. Now they provide us the list and say, these are the homes we want to see.
Sure.
So our roles have changed from us giving them the homes to them giving us the homes.
How do you feel about that?
Well, sometimes they give us the homes and we want to say, that's not right. You don't want to live what you're telling us, that's not the right fit for you, but you can't really convince them till you show them. And when we get out there, they'll say, you were right, and then they learn to trust you, and that you do really know what you're talking about.
It's like, what am I not seeing here? Why is this house $200,000, but it's on a massive lot and it looks beautiful? Like, what am I missing here?
Yeah, you don't see what's next door, maybe.
Sure.
And but that I do miss me kind of being in control and finding that perfect home for them. I feel like buyers a lot of times find their own homes now from these beautiful pictures that are online.
Yeah.
They're beautiful pictures, and of course they're beautiful tours and video, and they can really see a lot of the home and see what it's really like before they get to us.
Yeah.
But they still need us to get inside there. So I think our jobs hopefully are safe.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I wanna rewind a little bit. You mentioned how much you loved the family feel of it, and when I see your name around town, it's what it makes me feel like Camille Johnson Realtors, like it makes me feel like you guys have a tight group. How do you maintain that still feel of family 40 years later in a space that we're so separated because of, not needing to come together all the time?
Right. It's hard. It's not as easy as it once was, but I make a big effort of that. We of course do technology.
Sure.
We're on Group Me. We're constantly telling them, like we had one of our sweet agents, their son just won state in golf.
Yeah.
And I really promoted that. And of course I was up in the Kool-Aid with her all weekend, so excited for their family. Good. And so I try to be a part. I try to get to know each one of my agents and try to be a part of their lives, not maybe while they're sitting at the desk at the office, but when they're leading their own lives. So I try to make a big effort to really know them and to be a part of their lives.
And I don't think that just happens. You have to be intentional with it.
Well, it's hard. And, I hate to say this on air, but I'm getting a little older. So it's getting harder to remember everything that I want to remember.
Sure.
But I've got so many special people. I've made a big effort to hire quality people that I know that have good reputations, that have experience, and that are kind and caring. And I've really made an effort to try to get to only hire people that will put their clients' needs above their own.
Yeah.
I don't just hire anybody. I've really been intentional on who I'd hire. And I feel like we have a really good bond, our whole group does, together.
Yeah. So let's rewind again 40 years. All right. So we know that market trends, we're always looking at what are interest rates looking like, these days, versus last year. But you have a much broader scope of where they have. Yeah. So rewind 40 years and I'm looking to buy a house. What are my...
Do I have to rewind 40 years?
No, you can rewind. You can rewind 30 if you'd like.
No, 40 years. That's when I got into real estate.
Yeah.
And, I think I talked about how I didn't make any money when I first started. But one of the reasons interest rates were 16% in 1986. And the first house I ever sold was it was out here close to, in China Spring area. And it was $70,000.
Yeah.
And the poor seller had to pay 4 points. And if you don't know what a point is, it's 1% of the loan.
Yeah.
So for them to get 16%, they had to buy down the loan 4 points to get 16%. So for a couple of years, from 86 to probably 90, the interest rates were 16, 15, 14. And Jim Stewart, again, who I've talked about, my broker, he said, if you can get a 10% interest rate over your lifetime, you have done a great job.
Wow.
Well, then look what happened. Sure. I think they had said for 25 years, we were under 6%.
Wow.
And then COVID happened in 2020, and people were getting 2% loans, 2.5% loans. When we thought we would be 3% loans, whenever we thought we would be out of business, the government did that for us, I guess, and we were going crazy selling real estate with our hazmat suits on and our gloves and, out, sacrificing our life to sell a house. But but we felt like, again, I make fun of that, but we felt like we were helping people in our own little individual way. Yeah. But now when people look at 6% interest rates or 6.5%, which they are now, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And as with your good credit, you can even get it under 6.
Yeah.
And so it is, I just want to tell you, you do not realize what it could be because we have seen the days, and it may go up to that again someday. But right now it's a great interest rate, and it's still so much better than we ever expected 40 years ago.
So you talked about COVID. I can't imagine how challenging that must have been.
Oh, it was so challenging. It was so, of course, it was so sad. But we went to work every day, my husband and I, and one of my assistants went to work every day. And we at the office would wear masks. And then the realtors would come in masked and with gloves and with those booties on
Sure.
too, and go out and show. And that was the beginning. COVID changed a lot of things. That was the beginning where we don't get in the car really with our clients too much anymore,
Yeah.
that we drive separately. And we still have continued to do that a lot.
Yeah.
But we would just meet them at the house and have our gloves to, try to get in the key to get in the house. And then, of course, stay gloved, stay masked while we're at the house and stay away from our clients. But it ended up in being able to do, again, technology, being able to do everything by e-signatures and online. You didn't even have to meet with your clients to sign contracts.
Yeah.
So it was a sad, sad time, and it did change of course, it changed our world, but
Yeah.
it changed real estate.
Yeah.
We do separate closings, not with buyer and seller anymore.
Yeah.
So a lot of the buyer and seller are separate now
Yeah.
since COVID.
Do you think that's a good thing? Like some of it's good, some of
with
it's...
some people.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sorry, but sometimes buyers and sellers don't like each other.
Yeah.
Really, about 60% of the time, I think those are the statistics, that buyers and sellers don't end up liking each other because they feel like one took advantage over the other.
Sure.
But it's so nice when they both do really enjoy each other and they want to meet each other to get, and visit before they leave the house.
Yeah.
And it's such a wonderful time when they do get along.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
You mentioned, we were talking about COVID. Do you think that, like, if this pandemic happened in the 1980s, the early 90s, like, would we have just
We would have shut down.
completely?
Yeah, we would have shut down.
Yeah.
Because no one would have had access to the homes.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have known what homes were out there.
Couldn't see them.
No,
nothing.
it would just, I had never thought about that,
Yeah.
but we would have been out of business.
Yeah. You mentioned that the cell phone changed a lot of things.
Oh.
Probably specifically the smartphone. Now, if we rewind the clock, in 2007, I believe the first iPhone came out, and it was the first pretty much real big, smartphone. Tell me a little bit more about that. Like, how has it changed everything?
We were so bad. Our top producer, who was a great salesperson, she came in with this huge bag phone.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
And of course, we all made fun of her. We even did a skit about her taking her phone to the bathroom, and we all said, "Oh, that is never going to work. Nobody's going to carry those things." Well, shows you how smart we are.
Yeah.
But anyway, I remember the first bag phone, and she was the first person any realtor had a phone. And of course, the progression has just changed our lives.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned to you that we used to have to sit at the office waiting for that counter offer call. And now we can just resume our lives. My son played college baseball.
Yeah.
Well, I was able to go to 60 baseball games his senior year and never missed a beat because of that cell phone.
Yeah.
And it was just wonderful to be able to talk between innings and act like I was in my office.
So what's interesting is I think we associate technology, cell phones, like as in stealing a lot of our time. Like, oh man, I'm constantly working. I'm constantly on my phone. I'm constantly, people have access to me. But what you're saying is, yes, but maybe in smaller spurts. You're not sitting at an office for 6 hours waiting for a call. Like, you get to be there with your son and get to experience those times. And even if it's hey, I got to pop out for 5 minutes.
Right. They'll
it's
understand
only 5 minutes.
that.
Yeah.
I know. It's just enabled us to have a life. When I would go on vacation before cell phones, the day before I'd get back, I'd get so nervous because I knew what my assistants did. They made a list, and I would have 3 pages of calls to return.
Yeah.
And that's all I did for 2 or 3 days after I got back. So now, when you go on vacation, you're not away from your clients, you're not away from your business. You can continue. And part of that maybe is not bad. Maybe you're not present all the time when you're away with your family or friends, but it sure has made my life easier. That used to be very hard to leave and know when you got back it was going to be an all-day thing. People used to ask me, what do you do for a living? And my answer was, I talk on the phone. Because that's all I did was talk on the phone.
Sure. Now, even with cell phones too, I mean, I would imagine that it gives you almost like a safety net, like you're going out with somewhere that you've never been before. Maybe 40 years ago, it was like, I'm not sure where I'm going. I've never been to this property. Would you say there's like a big safety?
Oh, Eric, I think about some of the things I did when I was in my 30s, a little younger and a little cuter. I met this man, for instance. I met this man. He didn't know who he was. Came into the office, and it was after work. He'd worked all day, and he wanted to go look at properties out in the country. Well, I'm 33 years old. Go out to put him in my car. My car wouldn't start. So I get in the car with him. Never met this guy before in my life. And we're going out at dusk to go look at country property. And we get to the end of a road, and he turns off the car. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I mean, I'm cooked. Well, he just said, Camille, I just want to hear how quiet it is out here. And of course, I'm like, thank heavens. But in any way,
how scary.
But we had no cell phones. I'm in a car with a stranger.
Nobody can track you.
Nobody could track
They'll
us.
find your car empty.
Yeah, I'm sitting at the office. But I look back and I've thought about so many things. Of course, the world was different 40 years ago, probably a little bit. But I'd go to open houses. We'd go to vacant open houses. And we wouldn't have cell phones, and we'd be sitting out in the middle of the country with nothing. And I used to do some things that were probably kind of stupid. But back to the man, he became one of my favorite clients of all time, and I sold like 3 different properties for him. But I don't think I've ever told him that I thought I was going to die.
Oh my gosh! But how scary. And because you get in your head about stuff like that. I mean, like he just wants to experience a moment with you and show you something beautiful. But it's hard to not think about, like, oh my gosh, like this could go really poorly, you know, like,
yes, that made me think of another story. If you don't mind me telling.
Please.
I was helping this man. This was before cell phones also. And I was helping this man that was head of Minute Maid. He was darling. I loved him, and we became great friends. But he would work so hard all day, and I'd pick him up after work to take him to go look at houses. And of course, me, chatty Cathy, thought I had to talk all the time. And he said, Camille, would you just be quiet? Can I just relax and rest here? And would you just please not talk? And anyway, I think about that. And of course, that bonded me with him because I thought I was so glad that he could tell me not to talk.
Oh man, I've
had so many funny stories and
wonderful
people that became such dear clients and dear friends.
Camille, you have so many great stories. Like, what else you got out there? Give me something good.
Okay, one time I had this sweet pastor, and I'm laughing. It was a very sad story. His wife had just passed away and left him with 2 little girls. And we're in the house, and we're in a deep, deep, serious conversation in the hall, talking about how he's putting bows in their hair and learning how to do little bows. And we finished that conversation. Well, he went into one bedroom and I went into another. And when I was in the other one, I was saying, oh, Steve, come in here. You need to look at these built-ins. And then I went, oh my gosh, there was a naked man in the bed. And anyway,
oh my gosh.
I ran out. And I said, Steve, what do we do? And he said, well, you're the professional. And so we both ran out.
Oh, my goodness.
And anyway, he was so clever and he was so sweet. And he wrote my boss, Jim Stewart, a letter and talked about how I gave showing a new meaning.
Oh, my goodness. That is amazing.
But anyway, it was so cute.
Well, and how perfect that you're with your pastor.
I was with my pastor. It was a sad situation. But anyway, it became one of... I hate to say, one of my funniest stories.
Wow.
cell phones have made such a difference in our lives, because before cell phones, we would get into all these situations that were, I mean, they're funny now, but they weren't funny when we were going through them. One time I was out on a balcony with one of my dear clients for 6 hours.
Oh my gosh.
We went out on the balcony and the door locked behind us.
Oh no.
And anyway, we were out there. Of course, if I'd had a cell phone back in the day, in the late 80s, early 90s, I could have called for help. But we stayed out on that balcony.
How did you get off?
Nighttime. Finally, the owner came home about 7 o'clock that night. But I was really thinking about jumping for a limb. I mean, I'd gotten where I was so embarrassed. But anyway, there wasn't even a chair. We were just out on this little balcony.
Oh no.
And then another great story, one of my fellow realtors was showing a house, and a dog was in the house, and they didn't realize it and came charging at them. And he and his clients ran in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And so they were in the bathroom for 4 hours together. What? And every time that they'd open the door to go out, the dog was there growling. And so they'd open it and he'd go, brr, and then they'd shut the door really fast. And so for 4 hours, they were locked in the bathroom. And so,
then did the owner
thank
come
heavens
home
for cell phones, we don't get in situations like that. Yes, the owner finally came home and got the dog.
Wow.
But there are just some crazy things that could have been avoided if we'd had a cell phone 30 years ago.
So you've been doing this for 40 years now. You've learned obviously a lot of lessons along the way. What would you say is a common thing that you see common mistakes you still see realtors make that they've been making for 40 years?
Yes.
Of course, we're learning new technology. We're trying to follow the trends and everything. But is there some things that you've seen along the way that just people still make that same mistake?
Well, I think one of the main mistakes that I see with realtors that don't do a good job is that they don't put their clients' needs first. And, you've just got to do that to be successful in this business. You've got to put me has got to be number two. We want to make a good living, but we also want people to be happy and to find their home of their dreams.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've seen happen with people, the big mistakes, is not moving with the times.
Okay.
I've made a huge effort, and I'm not the best at technology, but I've made a huge effort. What I've seen a lot of realtors not progress with the times, not to use technology, not to learn how to do the things that they need to do to be a success in 2026.
Yeah. So you mentioned that putting the client is probably your number one priority. Let's say I'm a new realtor that's coming on the scene. What advice would you give me? Like, obviously, like, make sure the client's first, but how do I see success in that first few years?
Right.
Is there something that could really kind of help springboard me into that space?
I always tell them to be part of their community.
Okay.
One of my realtors is very successful with not a lot of experience, but it's because they have volunteered in their church and in their community, in their schools. And they've not just volunteered, but they've done a great job at their volunteer work.
Yeah.
They've been committed in that. And when people see that you're committed in your volunteer work, in your church work, in school, in any activity that you're doing, and you're successful at that, they're going to trust you in your job. And they're going to want to use you in your job. So I've told my new agents who are new to the community, find you a church, not to get business, but to get really truly committed. Work in your children's schools. Get actively involved in your community and do a good job at whatever you're involved with.
And we work in Central Texas, and I really do feel like there's a lot of communities that foster that.
Yes. Waco's great at being able, and there's so many wonderful nonprofits to get involved with. There's so many great things. Also, just old school techniques. For 25 years, Eric, I did an open house 3 out of the 4 Sundays a week.
You're kidding me.
I did that every Sunday, except maybe one. And sometimes every Sunday. But I've told them, you've got to do the basic things, hold open houses. I met some of my most wonderful clients through open houses. I did open houses 3 out of the 4 weeks of the month, every month. And sometimes all the Sundays of the month.
So Camille, out of all the deals that you've done, was there any one particular one that really just kind of locked things in for you, something that really just was so impactful that kind of almost changed the trajectory of your career, or, anything like that?
Yes, and it also helped me to become a counselor,
Yeah, sure.
empathetic, and to be more than just the salesperson
Yeah.
that was helping somebody, but to really realize I'm helping families and being involved with them. Uh, it really changed my life.
Yeah.
I think it touched me so much because I had a young family at that time,
Yeah.
and her life was being changed so much. And I realized how fortunate I was, but I realized I needed to give back a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's your way of being able to say that I can't control a lot of these outcomes, but I can control some things.
Yes.
And whatever I can be for you, whatever I can help you with,
Whatever I can do for you, whether it's mop your floors,
sure.
Whether it's help you clean out the garage at the last minute, to sweep out the garage,
Yeah.
moved couches.
Sure.
I've done all of that through my life. And, we do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people just are in the ditch.
Yeah.
And sometimes they need help. And I've been very fortunate. I've had a great life.
Yeah.
But that's not the case for most people, or a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, Camille, I just can't, again, thank you enough for being on the show today. We've learned so much from you, and I've loved your
hope
stories.
so. I don't know.
Yeah, we have. And I want to leave you with the last few words for our guests, our audience out here. Is there anything that you want to leave, for them, some nuggets, maybe of advice, or just some things to be thinking about?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to tell everybody 40 years in the business has been wonderful. I've loved nearly every minute, but I really have loved everybody I've worked with. And I wouldn't want to go back 40 years at all. We had so many funny stories and so many wonderful people that we worked with. I wouldn't want to go back to that, but I'm so glad I got to experience that environment, so I could really appreciate those cell phones and the technology that we have today.
Yeah. Again, Camille, thank you so much. You guys, if you want to connect with Camille, we're going to put her information and Camille Johnson, Realtor's information down in our show notes below. And I'm sure they'd be happy to help you guys out with all your real estate needs. But before we sign off, we want to do this week's tip of the week, which is focus on consistency over timing the market. Agents who succeed long-term are the ones who show up, build relationships, and keep going, no matter what the market conditions. And once again, we wanted to thank Sold and Snap for being this week's sponsor. They are Central Texas's premier real estate photography and marketing company, helping agents look incredible, stand out from the competition, and grow their business. They provide photos, tours, video, and marketing, everything that you need to market yourself and your listings with ease. Want to save time, wow your clients, and dominate the market? Visit soldandasnap.com and see how they can elevate your business or your listing today. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.
And that's today's pour. Thanks for spilling the real tea with us. Don't forget to follow the podcast so you don't miss the next hot pour of real estate talk. And remember, this is just the tea, not legal, real estate, or financial advice.